And the last thing I wanted to talk about, okay, I want to talk about what's going on by Marvin Gaye in the Vietnam War. Um, Recently in the news, everybody knows the conflict between Israel and Palestine and Gaza, and I feel like what ends up happening with things like this in the news is that a couple of things happen, right? Like people are overloaded with information from conflicting sources from opposite sides, and it sometimes I feel like it's so hard to tell like what's going on and keep up with it that a lot of people sort of just bow out and sort of just forget about it or try not to talk about it and stuff like that because they don't really understand what's going on, no pun intended. And that's how I was starting to feel, you know what I'm saying? Like I started to see some news topics talking about there was another bombing, and it's just so hard to keep up with exactly what's going on, but you just know like people are over there suffering and people are over there dying. And it just led me to listening to what's going on by Marvin Gaye, the project. I had heard a little while ago that that project was centered around the Vietnam War. And so I did some more research on it, and I want to bring that here to sort of share that with you guys. Um, so Marvin Gaye's brother, Frankie May, Frankie Marvin Gaye's brother, Frankie Gaye, was a soldier and he fought in Vietnam. And when he came home, he had a ton of discussions with his brother about what was going on, what was happening, the struggles he faced over there and over here, what he saw over there, and how he was still being treated when he got back as a black man in the 70s. Um, and that project, I feel like, just embodies that feeling altogether, right? Like he got a firsthand account from his brother of what that conflict did to him as a black man, and the way that that music just hits, bro. Like it just it says everything I don't know how to say about what's going on right now in Gaza, you know? Like as an onlooker, as somebody who is not directly like involved in it. And I think that's another thing, right? Like when you're not directly involved in it, like when we're here in America, it's like what can we do outside of like raise awareness, post about stuff, educate each other about what's going on. It's like we're not fighting, we're not escaping, we're not directly impacted right now today by what's going on over there, you know. And so it definitely makes like you feel almost helpless in a way. It's like, why pay attention to this if I can't do anything about it? Which sounds horrible, but it's the reality of it. It's like unless you're gonna enlist and go over there and do something, how are you really affecting it in your day to day? And so I just want to talk about this project, the fact that another thing I found interesting about it, Barry Gordy said it was the worst thing he had ever heard when he first heard it. If you know the history of Motown, they made very clean cookie cutter music. That was the strategy. The way that they produced music, they wanted to appeal to a broader demographic than Black America. They didn't want to talk about political issues initially. That was part of how they built the company. And so when Marvin Gaye came out with this, it was very innovative and very new and almost unheard of in that way for that label at the time, right? Like they were still super popular. And the fact that the label owner, Barry Gordy, legend, executive, said, "This is the worst thing I ever heard." And for it to be this classic piece of music, it's insane to look back at it. It's insane to look back at it. This project has no skips. This project has no skips. When I think of Marvin Gaye, this is what I think of. It's 9 songs, it's 35 minutes long. And I would encourage anybody who is looking for good soul music or is feeling the same way that I said I was feeling about the situation over there. If you're looking for something to listen to make you feel better, to invoke some sort of emotion, I would encourage you to go listen to What's Going On by Marvin Gaye.